So, if you ask any longtime Western New Yorker, they'll be able to talk your ears off with stories about the blizzard of 1977. The howling winds and blowing snow that started exactly 45 years ago brought Western New York to a standstill for days. Killed nearly 24 people. It cost hundreds of millions of dollars to clean up. We wanted to share this look back that our Dave McKinley previously put together to take you back to one of Western New York's worst storms ever.
At the Statler Hilton Hotel, 2,700 flocked, many trying to sleep on the lobby floor, while hundreds more bedded down at Memorial Auditorium, where the wind was so strong it tore an 80-foot section of the roof off.
Snow blown inside is melting and dripping down through the tiers onto seats.
Without today's technology, lines were jammed, so even trying to make a call home to let a loved one know you were somewhere safe was rustic at best. Fires that broke out just burned. There was no way to get to them to put them out, and in the countryside.
Because there's a lot of wide open spaces, wind whips the snow into 30-foot drifts.
And anyone who lived through it,
I remember it very well.
Will never forget.
More scary or more fun for a kid?
Oh, for a kid, it was certainly more fun.
State Assemblyman Sean Ryan was 12 at the time and recalls getting a week off from school.
The wild thing about that blizzard is you could rarely go outside. So we went out once or twice to try to slide down some of the big dunes. But in a matter of minutes, the wind would kick up again and you couldn't see anything.
The wilder thing about the blizzard of '77 is that it would rage on for 4 days.
Tonight's big story centers on the big blizzard of '77 as it continues to pound Western New York.
And even when it began to subside, the gravity of it all was just dawning.
The streets of Buffalo looked more like the face of the moon than major arteries of the Queen City of the Lakes.
But amid a world turned white, a very dark side of the storm began to emerge.
Police have found at least 8 people dead in stranded cars, victims of the -7-degree weather. There are fears that more deaths will be recorded as cars are dug out.
Eventually, 23 deaths would be attributed to the storm. A beleaguered Mayor Stanley Mikowski, who declared a state of emergency, pleading for anyone with a snowmobile or a plow to try and help, also asked Washington for assistance. And a then little-known bureaucrat working for Senator Moynihan said his boss would take a message to President Carter.
The Disaster Relief Act of '74 would provide for not only monies in the federal government now to try to dig us out of this, but also reimbursement to the municipalities for all the work they have done so far.
300 troops from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, joined New York National Guardsmen, manning snow-moving equipment and more.
And helicopters, 38 of them, are flying rescue and reconnaissance over Western New York. One of their assignments is resupplying food to hospitals and shelters.
Because Buffalo was a city cut off from the outside world.
Everybody's panicking.
Store shelves were becoming increasingly bare, and though some producers tried mightily to meet the demand for basics,
Normal orders for pies, cakes, and rolls cast aside as workers put their shoulders to the bread lines.
they were in many cases unable to deliver the goods.
Some of the milk is being dumped by the farmers because they can't get it out.
And though it is said that neither snow nor rain nor heat nor gloom of night shall stay these couriers from their appointed rounds,
The U.S. Postal Service in Buffalo is a victim of the storm. Employees unable to get to the main post office on William Street are a bit of a problem.
and though it would be 8 years before Mayor Griffin gave his now famous advice on weathering storms during the blizzard of '85,
Yeah, we're stuck. So let's have a good time.
within days, a UB economist pegged the wages and benefits lost in Erie County alone from the storm at $60 million.
That doesn't include the loss of profit and other earnings of business, doesn't include property damage, doesn't include the health effects and the costs of the city for cleanup.
That total would eventually reach $541 million across Western New York, adjusted for inflation, a little over $2 billion in today's money.
By the mayor's desk is the prayer, Lord, help me to remember that nothing is going to happen to me today that you and I together can't handle. This day and this winter should prove the supreme test of such faith in the face of adversity.
And a couple of updates for you, Michael, since that story aired 5 years ago. Sean Ryan is now a state senator, not an assemblyman. That cost damage adjusted for inflation now, we're closer to $2.5 billion. Our graphics packages continue to improve. And one more thing, and I learned this just when we had the last major storm event. If this happened today, you wouldn't have thousands of people stranded at their workplaces downtown because as we've learned over the last 2 years, many of us can and do work from home.
They preemptively do that now when there's going to be a storm, right?
Absolutely.
And it's interesting, you told me your memories of the blizzard of 77 today, because we mentioned anybody who was around then has all of these stories, and yours was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much time we have, but I grew up in the town about an hour west of here, and east. We get the same Buffalo weather just an hour later.
Yeah.
And that storm hit. My brother and I were at a play practice. We thought we were stranded at our school, but my dad had to insist to make it down to pick us up. He took us to his store, and we got trapped there and had to spend the night. I had to sleep on a TV stand because he sold TVs and appliances. And I still am mad about this today because I only learned after school resumed that the kids who stayed at school, they opened up the pool, they had the pizza ovens going, the gyms, they were playing all sorts of games, the boys and girls, the teenagers that I missed out on. So yeah, I'm still bitter about that one today.
And stuck at your dad's store instead. All right, Dave, thanks for sharing that with us. I know a lot of people loved watching all that old footage. That's going to do it for today's Town Hall and for this week. Hope you have a great weekend, everybody.